This is Taib at taibs.com or hasakicks.com, and today we're going to learn some basics concepts in algebra 1, okay? So I've been tutoring for over 20 years, and I've seen that a lot of people, especially high school and middle school and even college students, struggle with like terminologies. Like when usually they are given a problem, they don't know what to do. And that's because I don't know if they just were never taught like this is what this means. But today what I want to do is I want to teach just the basic concepts. And the first thing that we're going to start with is like square and square root. Okay, so if you see on my board, I said something here. How do you find the square of a number? So example, if I ask you, what is 3 squared? What am I asking you to do? If you don't understand the definition, it's hard for you to do the problem. So when I say, how do you find the square of a number? Or if I ask you to find the square of a number, what I'm actually saying to you is this: multiply that number by itself. So if I say, what is 3 squared? And I'm going to write that on the board. What is 3 squared? So I'm technically saying to you, multiply 3 by itself. So 3 squared is written 3 to the power of 2, like this. This is the notation. And 3 squared is 3 times 3, and that gives you 9. So if you hear someone say, what is 3 squared or what is 4 squared, they are basically saying to you, what is 4 times 4? So squaring a number is basically taking that number and multiplying that number by itself. So 5 squared will be 25 because 5 times 5 is 25, and because 5 squared is 5 times 5. So 6 squared is 6 times 6. So if you hear someone say, what is the square of 10? It's 10 times 10. It's 100. So don't be, what's the term? Like flabbergasted. Don't be so surprised. This is simple stuff. Once you understand the terminology, it gets easier. Now we're going to jump into something more complicated. Now if I say complicated, not because it's too hard, it's because people make it complicated. So now we're going to talk about square root. Okay? Square root. So let's find the square root of let's say 16. So the first thing you need to understand is, what am I asking you? When I say find the square root of 16, what am I saying? So what I'm saying to you is this: what number multiplied by itself gives you 16? And those numbers are called perfect squares. Okay, so 16 is a perfect square. Why? I'm going to explain it. So what number multiplied by itself gives you 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. So square root of 16 is written this way. It's like a V, okay? Square root of 16 and square root of 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 gives you 16. So basically when you hear what is the square root of a number, what they are asking you is what number multiplied by itself gives you that original number that you are asked to find the square root of. So in this case, if I say what is the square root of 25, it will be 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. What is the square root of 100? It will be 10, because 10 times 10 is equal to 100. What is the square root of 169? Is 13, because 13 times 13 is 169. Now, a quick pointer. So with square root, what you need to remember is your times table. Okay, when we were younger, I had to learn my times table when I was like 7 or 8 or 9, or I had to learn it. So once you know your times table, these get so easy, because once you know your times table, you can kind of figure out the numbers that you are being given. So if I give you, for example, square root of 81 is 9, because I know that 9 times 9 is 81. Okay, that's because I learned my times table. What is square root of 144? Is 12, because 12 times 12 is 144. Now that you understand what the square root is, I also explained the perfect square. A perfect square is a number that multiplied by itself gives you the original number. In this case, 9 is a perfect square because 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 25 is a perfect square because 5 times 5 is 25. Now let's learn some basic rules when it comes to square root. Rule number 1, we are dealing with real numbers. Okay, with real numbers, you cannot find the square root of a negative number. For example, square root of negative 7, that will not exist. You can't have that because you can't have the square root of a negative number. Now, when you go on and deal with complex numbers, that can be done. But with real numbers, you cannot. Okay, so square root of negative 7, you can't find it. But if you were dealing with complex numbers, square root of negative 7 will be square root of 7i squared. And we're going to see that maybe in later chapters. But now, we are not going to deal with complex numbers, so don't even bother with it. Square root of negative 7 does not exist as far as real numbers are concerned. Now, this is just one thing that I wanted to point out. Now, another thing. You need to know some basic rules with square root. So, square root of a times b is the same as saying square root of a times square root of b. Okay? And then square root of a divided by b is the same as saying square root of a divided by square root of b. Now, square root of a plus b is not equal to square root of a plus square root of b. And then square root of a minus b is not equal to square root of a minus square root of b. This is not equal, but as far as the multiplication and the division are concerned, yes. But with the addition and subtraction, you cannot do that. This is not the same. You just need to remember this. You can take a screenshot at it. You can do whatever you want, but just remember that. Now let's do some quick problems. Now, if I ask you to find square root of 5, can you do it? Probably no. Why? Because there's no number that multiplied by itself gives you 5. There's no such a number. There's not such a number. Not in this side of eternity. Maybe later on, but now we can't find square root of 5. It's going to give you 2 point something something something. So this is not a perfect square. So we can't find square root of 5. Okay? Now what about square root of 16? We've already talked about it. If you know your times table, you know that square root of 16 is what? 4. All right? Now let's find like a more complex number. Let's say I wanted you to find square root of 18. Now, what I'm asking you is this. Is there a number that multiplied by itself gives you 18? No. But we can still simplify this because what? 18 can be written as what? 2 times 9. And 18 is also what? 6 times 3. Now here's the thing. When you break it down into 2 times 9, guess what? 9 is a perfect square. So I can do something here. We just learned a couple of rules and we're going to apply those rules because they're going to help us. The square root of 18 is what? 2 times 9. And we said earlier that square root of AB is the same as saying square root of A times square root of B. So this can be written as square root of 9 times square root of 2. Now I know square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3 because what number multiplied by itself gives you 9 is 3. So this gives you 3 square root of 2 because square root of 2, you can't find the square root of 2. It's not a perfect square, so we stop right there. Okay, now let's find another number that's a little more difficult. Let's find the square root of 108. Okay, so 108. So what do we do with 108? So 108, the first thing you want to do is you want to break down 108 into small factors. Okay, simpler factors. And what my goal is to find a perfect square when I do this. The breakdown. So 108 can be written as what? Oh, quick thing. Now, how do you find the factors of 108? You can kind of cheat because look, 108, it ends with an 8. 8 is a multiple of what? 2. So therefore, this number can be divided by 2. So when I divide 108 by 2, I get 54. Once again, 54. 54 ends with a 4. So therefore, I can divide it by 2 because 4 is a multiple of 2. So that gives you what? 2 and 27. Now 27, if you knew your times table, you know that 3 times 9 is 27. Now what if you didn't know your times table? What do? Look, 27. You see the digits in 27? 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7 is what? 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. And 9 is a multiple of 3. So therefore 27 can be divided by 3. So if when I divide it, I get what? 3 and 9. And look here. So we broke down 108 into 2 times 2 times 3 times 9. 9 is a perfect square. So therefore, we can rewrite this whole expression. So square root of 108 will be equal to square root of what? 2 times 9 times 3. Now look, 2 times 2. I'm going to do something here. I get square root of what? 4 times 9 times 3. Okay? Now this is going to be easy because guess what? We know we can break this down into what? Square root of 4 times square root of 9 times square root of 3. Because we just learned our rule earlier, right? Square root of 4 is what? 2. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 3 stays the same because this is not a perfect square. And the final answer is 6 square root of 3. Alright? So square root of 108 can be simplified as 6 square root of 3 by using this easy method. You just break down the number into small factors and try to see if you can find some perfect squares in there, and that can help you better. Alright? So to recap what we talked about today, the first thing we talked about is how to find the square of a number. So if I say to you, what is 5 squared, I'm basically asking you multiply 5 by itself. So squaring a number is basically multiplying that number by itself. Alright? And the next thing we also talked about is how do you find the square root of a number. So to find the square root of a number is basically saying what number multiplied by itself gives you the original number. So if I say find the square root of 9, I'm basically asking you what number multiplied by itself gives you 9, and it's 3. Alright, so we're gonna wrap this up. So I hope you enjoyed this quick intro to squaring a number and finding the square root of a number. Now if you're struggling with algebra 1, 2, finite mathematics, statistics, calculus 1, calculus 2, trigonometry, or whatever you're struggling with, and if you need a tutor, I'm here to help. Please reach out. I'll have a link for you in my description. Check that out, and you can schedule an appointment. We can work through Google Meet or Zoom, whatever is to your liking. All right? Again, thanks for watching. This is Taib from House of Kicks and Taib from Taibs.com. Stay tuned for more quick videos in mathematics. Thank you.